2022. What a year. A year that has seen the biggest cost of living crisis in decades take grip, impacting businesses and consumers across the country. We're having to make changes and think really carefully about how we spend our money. As businesses weather the immense pressures upon them, Pennies has been hard at work, showing that authentic social impact is achievable and can still be delivered in a simple and easy way that can create huge impact. For the everyday consumer, Pennies has become an amazing opportunity to be part of something much bigger, to create positive impact without significant cost, doing good a little and often. Over the year, we have seen Pennies microdonations continue to rise, now receiving a donation every second, raising thousands of pounds every day of every week. And at a time when demand on the charity sector is at an all-time high, Pennies is needed now more than ever. So we need your help. We invite businesses to join us, helping to provide the national omni-channel platform to grow the microdonation movement and protect the vital funds so desperately needed by charities that your customers and colleagues care so deeply about. By the end of the year, Pennies will have unlocked over 160 million donations, generating £40 million in critical funds that otherwise simply would not exist. With over 100 brands now live across 10,000 stores and venues, 20 websites and apps, Pennies' growth is accelerating. In the last 2 years, Pennies has achieved more than we did in the first 7. And despite the tumultuous background to the last 3 years, this acceleration is set to increase, generating massive positive impact in our communities through your amazing customers and colleagues. As we venture into an uncertain future, there is still something we can all afford to do. If every cardholder in the UK donated just 35p every week, we could inject an extra £1 billion into the charity sector. This is the tipping point. So, be part of a legacy. Be part of something huge. Help us grow microdonations so that more people can give a little and often, adding up to making a big difference for so many. Together, today. And remember, it all starts with the humble penny.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Are you wearing your humble penny, I hope? Did you get one on arrival? Yep, I can see you're wearing them, which is fantastic. A very warm welcome to you all to the Autumn Pennies Celebration of 2002. Once again, we are gathered here in this stunning setting, the Sky Pavilion of the Rothschild building. And we'd like to say very specifically as well to our virtual audience tonight, a very warm welcome to you as well. We know many of you chose to watch us virtually because actually it was going to prove to be pretty challenging to physically get here. So it's fantastic to have you with us online as well. Now, some of you may be familiar with me, certainly if you were here last year. My name is Sally Bundock. I am your host for this evening. I work for BBC News. That is my main gig. I'm a financial journalist. And if you're an early riser, put on BBC One at 5 a.m. and you will boost my ratings. They're all laughing. Why are they laughing? Have you not heard about the early bird? Come on, you catch the worm, which in these days is very important, isn't it? I have to say, it's been a little bit busier than usual in the world of news lately. We've had a few historic events going on. And I have to say, tonight, it's my absolute pleasure to be the bearer of good news, because I feel right now at the moment in my job at the BBC, I am mostly the opposite. But tonight, we are going to really have an incredibly packed evening, but one that I believe will inspire, will encourage, will challenge, and will envision. So we have a whole host of excellent guest speakers here this evening. And of course, we have as well the celebration of outstanding partners of Pennies. That's later on when we have the Pennies Awards. So we have got a wonderful few hours ahead for you and for you at home as well. So let's get started. And we begin, first up, with the person who I guess is the reason why we're all here. So can you please give a very warm welcome to the Chief Executive of Pennies, Alison Hutchinson.
Well, thank you all very much indeed, and a huge Pennies welcome to you all. It's fantastic. I think trains, planes, automobiles, people were talking about Thelma and Louise, but a fantastic turnout. And listen, to all of you at home that are not able to join us, I hope you're not in the office, and I hope you are at home, but please join in, give us your comments, and I hope you can feel a real sense of what we're trying to achieve tonight. But as we said, why are we all here? This little thing. This little humble penny is why we're all here, and I hope you all will take this home and wear it with pride, and we'll come back to that in a second. This little humble penny has had a bit of a hard time, you know. In fact, in the last decade, it's lost a third of its value. Just this year, it's lost 10% of its value, and let's hope it doesn't go any lower. But we all know we're under huge pressure. But yet, when you take this, we did some research just 2 weeks ago in the middle of what is a tremendous cost of living crisis. And 59% of people, even in today's cost of living, said they wouldn't lean down and pick a penny up off the street. So are we really in a cost of living crisis? Yes. Do we really understand the power of this little penny? I don't think you do, and I don't think I do, but when we come together, tonight we're going to explore the real opportunity when this penny finds its friends and goes to work. Now, forgive me for saying the obvious about the challenging world we're in, but of course, it is rather challenging, and retailers and hospitality are having to dig really deep to chart the way through these really, really difficult waters, being bombarded from all fronts. I think I heard that we've had 68 profit warnings last quarter, which is the highest since the financial crisis. So there's no doubt this is really, really difficult and challenging times. But you know, businesses respond, and businesses really focus on what they can do. And I'm not a believer in some of the articles being written right now, which says people have stopped thinking about their purpose. ESG, that phrase we didn't know about 5 years ago that we all live with all the time, that's in the back burner? I don't think so. For me, it's the companies that have real purpose at the core that know how to chart these waters. And although we all have little confidence and high hope of some output from COP27, the challenge of getting to net zero has only got harder, it's not changed. And for me, the spotlight on S, on social, on how do we attract diverse talent, how do we keep talent, how do we motivate them, how do we give back into the communities we serve, has never been front and center like it is today. And that's why I personally want to thank everybody in a leadership role that's contributed to what you'll see and hear later today, because you're the ones facing into these dilemmas, and we're the ones that'd like to learn. So a huge thank you. But if you think it's hard for business, just let me put you in the feet of a charity right now. It is facing all the same challenges that you are as a business. I think it's fair to say the charity sector has fared a lot better coming out of COVID than we thought, although the Charities Commission has recently reported that 60% of charities have less income now than they did before the beginning of the pandemic, and 30% of charities cannot get the volunteers they need so that they can do the work that they really need to do out in those frontline services. And then you take the backdrop of what we're all facing into. Let's just take what's happened to inflation. For the average charity, that means they've lost almost a month's worth of reserves. So to stand still, they need to raise another £75,000, and that's just as a result of inflation. We talk about the war on talent. We talk about how difficult it is to find talented people. The charity sector is filled with amazingly talented people who also are incredibly purposeful. But they don't necessarily get the large salaries that deserve the amazing work they do. And so there's a real worry in the sector that they get attracted to different industries where maybe those few more pennies could make a difference to their families. And if charities were down 30% in volunteering beforehand, where are they going to be now? And for us, when you look at that whole backdrop, the single biggest thing is the demand that's coming in through their doors. I don't know any charity, and we've granted out to 700 different charities, small, regional, large. All of them have a consistent voice. We cannot cope with the demand, and we don't know how to make some of these really, really tough decisions. And yet, against that demand, they know income's coming down. Already, in the last 3 months, 1 in 4 people have said they have had to reduce the amount they are giving to charity. They are really worried about making long-term commitments when they're not sure where they're going to spend their budget. And that is a real, real worry for the charity sector. Probably not a surprise when you think that the savings that were built up over COVID have really gone in the places where they need to still be there. We have 14 million adults that have less than £100 in their savings accounts. And yet these are the very people that want to give. Because if you have a little, you want to give even more. And so the research we did a couple of weeks ago said that 73% of people said, I want to give, but I need it to be little and often. I need it to be when I can afford to do it. And I need it to feel good about myself when I do it, because quite frankly, I can't make those big commitments. So if ever there was a time where I call on you as partners, those that are with us, and those that are looking at joining this movement, this is a time for this humble penny to be really listened to. Now, that's what the backdrop is, and that's what we're looking at tonight as Pennies. As you know, I was very fortunate to come across this idea, and here we are all these years later trying to lead the vision which says, how can you make it easy and affordable for everyone to give if that's what they choose to do so? So there we are. We've got a real demand, we've got an opportunity, but what's happening in reality? Well, the great news is that 2022 has genuinely been a record-breaking year for Pennies. Despite consumer confidence being at an all-time low since it was ever recorded, we're in double-digit growth. In fact, by the end of this year, if we have a really great next couple of months, which as it always is in retail and hospitality, it is in our world too, then we could reach 15% increase, which for an organisation in retail and hospitality, I hope you'll agree is just quite fantastic. And by the end of the year, we will have smashed through £40 million from these little undervalued pennies. And that means, thank you. And that means we've had 160 million people choosing to click, tap, donate because they want to. Nobody asks them, they do it because they want to, and they feel that's the right thing to do. As you saw earlier, we've smashed through over 100 brands that are now live. We're in 10,000 shop fronts, and we have over 20 different apps and e-coms that is absolutely starting to fly. But you know, I always look at that and say, but do consumers want to donate? And I can tell you that right now, on average, every second of every minute, of every hour, of every day, we are receiving a Pennies donation. In the time you'll be here tonight, that's 10,000 donations that will be given as we reflect on this movement. And every day, that's £20,000 every day now that we're looking to receive. And actually, you all know about technology freezes as you get to peak season. We've got 12 more brands, people like QuickFit, Compass, various brands that are looking to still go live before the end of the year. So we are super, super excited about what the potential is. But as much as that's amazing, £40 million isn't going to crack it. And we know the opportunity for microdonations is far in advance of that. But we can only have a vision as Pennies. We can only inspire and hope that you'll take action, because Pennies only becomes a reality when you all come together, you open up for consumers to have the opportunity. And if we all gave a penny a day, that's what makes the £1 billion. So don't let anybody tell you this is an undervalued, forgotten about item, because I think this is a powerhouse for the charity sector in the next few years. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Alison. A really good start and some really astounding statistics there. A record-breaking year for Pennies, which is fantastic given the environment that we are in currently. And now, of course, there are other players involved as well. So now we're going to hear from a key supporter of Pennies, Worldpay from FIS.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name's Pete, and I'm the General Manager for the EMEA business for Worldpay from FIS. And we're super delighted that this is the third year in a row that we've been able to sponsor the Pennies annual event. And we're even more excited to say that this is our 12th year of being partners together. We believe, particularly at the time we're all in now, with the global macroeconomy impacts, that social impact and the positive impact that it can create is needed more so than ever before, whether that be for our clients, their consumers, the end consumer. We're looking to create a positive impact, and Pennies as our strategic partner in that journey really helps us to deliver on that. I've said before, we're now in our 12th year of being partners together, and right now we're looking at new technology, we're looking at new verticals, new markets, new ways for us to support Pennies in driving the agenda and helping our clients to accept from their local charities to help their local communities. We've delivered together over £7.5 million, and by the end of this year, I really hope that we'll be over the 8 million, now that we've added some contactless functionality to some of those key customers that we already have that are mutual clients. We've got over 13 customers already working with us together, and I know there'll be many of you in the audience will be considering whether you're a payment services provider, whether you're a technology provider or a merchant, will be considering whether you should add Pennies to your payment journey. Well, I'm asking you all now to make that decision after tonight's event and really see that the positive impact that this can create, not only for your staff, but also for your customers. You'll be hearing a lot tonight about Pennies partnerships in the ecosystem. This micro donation movement is really, for me, incredibly special, and for our organisation. We really hope that you enjoy the evening, have a fab time, and make sure you make some new connections. All the best now.
Super. Thanks to Pete Wickes there from Worldpay from FIS. Now, I'm going to introduce to you our next speaker this evening. It's great to have with us Nick Mackenzie, who's the Chief Executive of Greene King. This is the country's leading pub, retailer and brewer, running over 2,700 pubs, restaurants and hotels across the country. So with that in mind, just imagine the challenging time Greene King has had in the last few years, navigating the organisation and all those pubs, hotels and restaurants through the pandemic, coming out the other side. So imagine that, and then I think we times it by a few thousand, and then we'll get a sense of the kind of pressure Nick and his team and those at Greene King have been under. So give Nick a warm welcome. Do come on up, Nick. Have a seat. And I have my phone here to watch the time. I'm not ordering dinner, just so you know. It's great to have you with us, Nick.
Great to be.
So, as I've mentioned, it's been an incredibly challenging time. And whilst I was preparing for our conversation, I had a look at your message on the Greene King website, which I actually thought was extremely heartfelt, where you talk through the experience you and your colleagues have had. But actually, despite all the serious challenges, you say you've come out stronger at Greene King. So how have you done that?
Good question. Yeah, it has been a tough few years. I mean, I joined the business 3.5 years ago, so it's been pretty interesting since the day I joined.
From Merlin Entertainments.
That's right. So I spent 17 years at Merlin.
Roller coasters and waxworks.
Absolutely. And they have their challenges as well. But we took the business private, actually, within the first sort of 8 months of me being there, which was quite interesting. And we launched a bit of a transformation program for the business, probably in early March 2020. We were all up at the NEC with all our managers trying to launch this program, and we all know what happened after the end of March 2020. We went into COVID, and it seems a bit strange sitting here now thinking about what's happened over the 3 years, but
it does feel surreal.
It does, yeah, and it's almost like it didn't happen.
A weird, strange movie.
Yeah. I've come out looking and feeling a bit different, but it's certainly been an interesting journey. And I think the reason I think we've come out stronger, and it seems a bit strange to say this, I think we were lucky to have COVID in a way, in terms of the transformation of the business and the change we were trying to make. And we set out on a cultural transformation. We set out our new strategy, launched it, and then COVID happened. And I think what COVID allowed us to do, one was to draw breath a little bit as a management team, to think a little bit as the businesses were closed, but two, to really start to embed some of our values, the purpose that we put into the business, and I guess try and prove to our people, and we have 40,000 employees around the UK, that we actually meant what we said when we talked about the purpose, we talked about the values of the business, and it allowed us to do that in lots of ways. And I think with our ownership structure, with some backers who take a long-term view of the business, we were able to do some things that maybe we wouldn't have been able to do in the public markets. And for that reason, I felt like when we came out, we were ready to change and we were ready to do things differently. And actually, I think the last 12 months have actually really, I wouldn't say been easier because of it, but it's certainly given us a real direction that we wanted to take with the business.
In terms of the impact on pubs, on restaurants, hotels, etc., I mean, there was a real concern many would go under.
Yeah.
Did many?
Yeah, I think across the sector, I can't remember the numbers now. Caitlin would be able to tell me if she's around, but a lot of pubs did have to close, a lot of restaurants had to close. We were fortunate. We did close a few right at the beginning, but generally we were able to keep our businesses ready to reopen. But I think the biggest challenge, and a lot of people will have talked about this, is that people who run pubs, managers, team members, they're 24/7 pub people, and suddenly their business was gone. Their purpose was gone, I guess.
And they were locked down.
Absolutely.
So people who are used to being in interaction with people all the time are suddenly home alone.
And look, and that was difficult. I think keeping their spirits up, keeping the team spirits up while people were on furlough, really, really tough. And actually coming out of it, obviously a lot of challenges as well, and coming out into the situation we've come into now makes it doubly challenging. But I'm very positive about where long-term the industry can go. I'm very positive about our business for the long term as well.
And if we talk about the current challenges, I mean, there's multiple.
Yep.
You've got the aftermath of Brexit, which has hit this industry hard in terms of people.
Yep.
You've got the cost of everything's gone up. The cost of what's going in the drinks we're drinking in the pubs, but all the food, energy. I mean, how are you managing the current challenges? And also, change of government all the time. We've got a new autumn statement next week, and it's kind of...
I'm starting to feel a bit more negative now.
You just don't know what's coming. Sorry, Nick, sorry.
No.
I don't want to burst your bubble, but, how are you managing the current environment?
Look, on the upside, sales are pretty good. And they have been pretty good, actually, for quite a few months. And I think we're all sitting there in the team wondering when there's going to be a bit of a drop. And whilst there has in some parts of the business, sales have been pretty good. But costs, and I'm sure many of you will know this and feel it as well, the cost inflation is eye-watering. And it's really, really challenging. I think the way we're tackling that is, one, to be true to our strategy. And we have 8 strategy drivers, and one of them is around social and sustainability. We're really focusing on those strategy drivers and saying, right, we are going to be here for the long term. We've got good long-term backing. We're going to push through with as much as we can, given the circumstances that we've got. And, we're focusing on customers, actually. We're focusing on our people, and we're focusing on our customers. But
unfortunately, it is more expensive.
Yeah, absolutely.
To go to the pub now, to eat out, you've had to pass that on.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't passed all of it on. I'm not sure you can pass all of that on. And we've tried to be really careful about where we push price. But like any business, you can't afford not to. And customers have actually taken... I think customers are understanding that business has more cost.
Yeah.
But I think as times get harder and obviously cost of living becomes more of an issue, then what customers expect is a better experience. They when they do come and they do want to have a good time, they want a great atmosphere and they want great service, then we have to do a better job. And that's what we're very focused on, is giving a much better experience to people when they do come.
So let's weave in social purpose into all of this and ESG, because many businesses in a current environment that we're in now might think, okay, we're in survival mode, we're hunkering down when it comes to new ideas, pushing the boundaries. We'll get to that later. We're just getting through week by week. And yet you're not of that mindset at all, if not the opposite. So talk us through that.
Yeah. As I said before, when we launched the strategy, we had 7 strategy drivers. About a month and a half ago, we launched the business an extra strategy driver that we were going to put in to make it 8, and that was around environment and social. So we are doubling down, I guess, on this area for lots of reasons. And again, most of you probably get this and understand it, but I think customers are expecting us to take much more of a position around social mobility, around sustainability, and around the environment. I think our people are demanding that of us, and I think our ability to recruit and retain great people is affected by what we do and what we do particularly in this area. And from my perspective, I think it's even more important now to do the things we're doing, whether that's charitable, whether that's around the environment. And you know, we're getting some great feedback on it from our people and our teams, and I do think it's a motivational factor for our teams to be able to do things like raise money for Macmillan, do things.
So talk us through how that works and how Pennies is a part of that.
So our main charity partner is Macmillan. We've raised over £13 million for Macmillan since the start of that. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing.
This year we'll do over £2 million with them. And I think the reason that really lands with our businesses is that so many people have been touched by cancer, so many people through their lifetime will be touched by it. But it sort of brings something out in people within pubs where they want to raise money, they want to have events and hold events in their pubs, they want to bring customers into it as well. And it's really taken a grip, and it's been a long time in building in Greene King. So, you know, I think that's been amazing, and the reason we've made so much money and we've taken so much money from Macmillan is because of how people feel about it. And I think the Pennies, or the addition of what we've done with Pennies, and we started with Pennies in 2018, will help us raise more money and grow the reach of what we're trying to do with particularly Macmillan.
And in terms of how it works from a practical point of view, talk us through that.
Yeah, so I say we launched it in 2019. We did a trial, and I think anyone who is thinking about this and worrying about it, do a trial, see how it goes. I think in the first year we raised £700,000. It was through, obviously, cards, machines. We've now moved to...
So when customers pay for a drink or a meal, they're rounding up.
25p, discretionary. They're asked whether they want to donate or not. Quite a lot of people say yes. And obviously our teams know when they're asked, or should know when they're asked, what is it about, this is about, what are you raising money for? And obviously they can explain about Macmillan because they know so much about Macmillan.
Okay.
And that is how it works. And now we're going contactless. I think and hope we'll raise about £1 million through Pennies. Through all our businesses, which I think is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So for Macmillan, it's an incredible injection of funds at a really important time. And in terms of your staff, their involvement in this, obviously you've said that they are briefed on where the money's going, et cetera, but do they actually see what's being outworked at Macmillan or anything of that nature?
Yeah, they get really involved, and obviously we do a lot of communication on it. We do lots of videos, show people, you know, what the benefit of donating to Macmillan is. And I was really lucky to be myself actually at Chelsea and Westminster Hospital a few weeks ago, meeting with the team and actually seeing what Macmillan do. And you know, I've some people in my close team who've been affected by cancer, and they've been supported by Macmillan. But what they do is incredible. What they do in terms of the nurses, what they do in terms of the support mechanisms, the information you get if you are in that unfortunate situation is really incredible, and that motivates people. And I think, you know, everyone in the team understands what Macmillan do and how beneficial they can be.
So how would you say social purpose drives commercial sustainability, you know, and growth? I mean, how do you sell this in the boardroom?
Look, I think it's at the heart now, and I guess it always has been to a degree in our business. It is at the heart of the culture of the business. And I've always believed if you get the culture right, then what comes after that would be, you know, along with a few other factors, commercial success. But if you get the culture right, then you're a long way down the line. And it is at the heart of our culture now. Mm-hmm. You know, so
it's embedded.
Yeah, well, yeah. Look, it's not fully embedded. I think we can still do more, but we have a value that we have lived by through COVID called we care. And that is caring about our people, caring about our customers, but also caring about communities. And you know, we operate in most parts of the country, in many, many communities. And I think caring about those communities and linking up with those communities helps drive commercial success.
So where do you see this going?
Pennies?
Yeah, you and Pennies.
Look, who knows? But my hope is that, you know, we raise more than £1 million through Pennies. My hope is as they innovate and they look for new ways of raising money and helping to raise money and broaden that reach, then we can go with them on that. And I know from personal experience, going out and trying to raise money in pubs with a bucket, walking around with a costume character to try and raise some cash is really, really hard.
I've done that as well. It is tough going.
And, you know, whilst some people donate, I actually got quite angry with quite a few people.
I know, that's why you're not good at that, Nick.
Saying, why have you been like that?
I've been told off. I've been told off
yeah.
for kind of harassing people to give.
Yeah, and QR codes and all that sort of stuff. But look, I think hopefully with innovation and the way the relationship builds, then as we started with Macmillan, it was relatively small. As we grew, it got much, much better. And hopefully we can do that with Pennies.
And just to remind us, you teamed up with Pennies in 2019. How easy or difficult was it? You know, the process?
Yeah, look, I'll be honest, I wasn't around when that started.
Okay.
But I think, you know, there was quite a lot of, as I understand it, people who were nervous about doing micro donations and doing it through terminals and at the pay points. So I think that trial was pretty critical. And I think once people got more comfortable with it, then those worries and concerns went away. And, you know, hopefully now everyone's well behind it. And we'll see what happens now the technology is working, or hopefully about to work really, really well for us.
And are you surprised to hear what Alison was sharing earlier about the year they've had? You know, some of the numbers are quite incredible, aren't they? When you think, you know, what we've been through as a nation, as an economy, and yet people are still giving. It's quite phenomenal, isn't it, really?
It is phenomenal. I'm not surprised in a way, because we've been through the same thing with Macmillan. We raised more money during COVID's year when people were furloughed than we'd done in the previous year when we were fully open, which I think is incredible. And those donations have gone from strength to strength. But a lot of that is about focus. A lot about that is about, you know, we've really, really pushed Macmillan very, very hard, and hopefully we'll do the same with Pennies as well. And, you know, to some degree I'm surprised, but actually, if you get the connection right with your teams and the charity, and we have a very good connection with the charity, then I think that's when you make the most benefit.
Okay, Nick, thank you so much. Thanks, we appreciate it. Nick Mackenzie from Greene King. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm sure you will agree, it's really interesting, and it's good to hear detail from Nick on how to deal with some serious challenges and unprecedented times, really, and yet still push through for social purpose. So let's now hear from some more industry leaders.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much to Pennies for asking me to reflect on the year so far. We certainly live in interesting times. We started this year by re-engaging and rebuilding our communities, and as we head towards the end of the year, GDP is reaching pre-pandemic levels, but interest rates and inflation are at an all-time high. This is not only affecting our markets, but it's affecting our confidence and reducing our disposable income. We see consumers move away from discretionary goods and focusing on essential items. A third of us will this year also cut back on our festive spending. But across financial services, when it comes to the retail markets, we see two things. Organisations are increasingly focusing on protecting their customers and being there for those that are in distress. We also see a focus on choice and payment methods. Some consumers will still prefer cash as a means to manage their finances, whereas others are moving towards digital tools. We will continue to work with the industry, with consumers and retailers to try and kind of promote the adoption of new payment methods, such as open banking or even central bank digital currencies in the future. Underneath all of this is an incredibly strong sense of social purpose and a commitment to the welfare of our communities and our consumers. And I'm incredibly proud and encouraged to be part of a community that supports Pennies and organisations such as Pennies. May these partnerships grow from strength to strength, not only during difficult times, but also during prosperous times. Thank you.
The hospitality sector in 2023 faces an ongoing series of challenges. The cost of doing business, the cost of living is squeezing margins and viability for many businesses, and we are already seeing customers choosing not to come out as frequently or spend as much. That will only intensify. And secondly, there are major challenges around access to labour and having sufficient staff to be able to operate. A quarter of hospitality businesses say that they have long-term vacancies, which are meaning they're having to shut for certain hours of the day, certain days of the week, and are not able to operate at full capacity. So the battle for talent, the battle for labour continues. 1 in 10 vacancies remaining unfilled across the sector. And that's why social purpose remains so important in such a challenging commercial environment. In order to attract and retain the loyalty of customers, in order to attract the most talented and engaged of staff, companies are having to find a new social purpose to reinvigorate that social purpose and communicate it more effectively throughout their communities. And that's where micro donations are so important, because they place the venue at the heart of their community. It emphasises the role that we play in giving back and raising money, not just for charity, but also in funding vital public services as we go forward into the recovery and hopefully back to a period of growth.
2022 and rollercoaster retail has continued. Demand under pressure, prices rising, volumes falling, and every single cost that's coming into a retail business seeing inflationary increases. But against this backdrop, it is absolutely not the time to take the focus away from that environmental, social and governance agenda. And particularly where the S bit and Pennies comes in as a ready-made solution for so many retail businesses. It's accessible to the customer and easy to implement for the retailer. It's absolutely a no-brainer in terms of questioning why every single retail business is not picking the charity of their choice and using Pennies as the mechanism to implement it.
Some very clear messages there from other leaders in the industry talking about why ESG is so critical, more now than ever. Now, we are going to get some further insight into why Pennies works for business and does work for the charity sector. As you can see, we've got quite a few chairs appearing on the stage, so I'm going to talk you through who our next set of contributors are. First up, we're going to be joined by Steve Oliver, who is co-founder and group CEO of musicMagpie, which is a leader of re-commerce in the UK and US in the circular economy of consumer technology, books and disc media. Also, we've got Angela Luger with us, who has a very diverse portfolio, operating as a non-exec director for the last 10 years, but while simultaneously operating in general management. Angela's worked in all channels of retail, mainly in fast-moving consumer goods, but also in the UK and overseas in financial services and travel as well. We also have James Mackenzie, no relation to Nick, I might add, but James is a managing director of Toolstation. He's on the leadership board of Travis Perkins and a non-exec director as Nisbets as well. And we have Richard Lewis as well, who you can see here. Richard is Chief Executive of SSP UK, Ireland and the Netherlands. They describe themselves as the food travel experts. I'm sure you've tasted of that when you have been in a railway station or perhaps at an airport, because they have thousands of catering units around the world at various airports and railway stations. So if the four of you could take the stage, please. Give them a warm welcome, everybody. Thank you very much. Come and grab a seat. Come and grab a seat. Have you all got your microphones on? I think Oliver could do with a little bit of assistance with his microphone. Steve Oliver, should I say? Sorry, Steve. Okay. So whilst we wait for Steve to be mic'd up, if I start with you, Richard, as you're next to me, just talk about how you as a business, you're maintaining your focus on ESG and why it's so important right now.
Well, I think it's increased on the agenda significantly over the last few years, and you know, it started off as felt like a bit of a compliance subject, really, is how do you tick the boxes and make sure you're doing the right thing to kind of keep the board happy or keep some shareholders happy. I think
Keep the press happy.
Yeah, and I think what we've learned is making it more purpose-led, as Nick was talking about earlier, and the more education I think you get amongst the team, you see as a real driver of people trying to do the right things for the right reasons. And whilst there is a real appetite to kind of do the right things for the team, the customer, and ultimately the planet, I think we've started to see some opportunities to kind of drive the right commercial outcomes of that as well. So, yeah, I think it's a huge driver for team morale. It's a huge driver for customer engagement, and I think the kind of commercial reality is now, you know, there are, you know, many major shareholders who will not invest in businesses unless you have this high on your agenda. So
there's been a real shift, hasn't there?
100%. So for us,
in the last few years, I would say. Would you argue?
Yeah. Well, I think certainly in the last 2 years, I think we've taken it hugely from being a subject of compliance to a subject of, you know, develop it into the purpose of what we do. And I think that has a huge impact on the culture of the business. And the social aspect, I think in particular, is a huge driver of team engagement.
Yeah. James, share your thoughts on that. I mean, right now, COP27 is happening in Sharm el-Sheikh. And prior to the COP conferences, we're used to hearing these horrific reports from the likes of the UN and others who, you know, scare us to bits with their prognosis for the planet. But, you know, as Richard was saying, it's very much on the agenda in business, isn't it?
It is, and I think for me, you know, we can talk about shareholders, talk about ESG, but ultimately, you know, it comes down to customers and colleagues. And I think, you know, certainly my experience has been we really stepped on bringing in Macmillan. So Mackenzie's love Macmillan, but you know, it's got such a, you know, it affects so many people. And actually, what we use Pennies for is to really turbocharge that relationship. And what's great about it is, you know, colleagues, you know, they have so much energy and passion to do the right thing. And we had our conference recently, and the Macmillan, you know, it was a stunned silence when people were crying because it's so powerful.
Yeah.
But what Pennies allows you to do is, you know, when you run a business, and, you know, I haven't got as many branches as Nick, but, you know, well, pubs, sorry, but I've got, you know, 550 branches, and it's, you know, what Pennies allows you to do is it's always on. It's always giving, and it allows, sometimes it's quite hard to sort of shake a traditional charity box in front of customers, but it's discreet, and they don't have to ask permission, and the technology takes care of it. And I think for us, that's been one of the key enablers of us being able to really drive it forward. And Pennies, you know, the MI you get out of it is really powerful as well. Yeah. And quite often it's a lead indicator on, you know, you've got the fabulous parts of your business, you know, but sometimes it gives you an insight into other parts of your business where actually, you know, it's a lead indicator to something else that may be going on.
And how do you communicate to your customers what it's about? Because, you know, they're paying for goods and they're, you know, asked on the machine, do you want to add more, blah, blah, blah. And quite often people will think, well, why should I do that? Or, you know, their mindset. Yeah. How do you communicate what you are actually doing, where the money's going? We're
quite lucky that we were the first with Pennies to use PAX terminals, which are those sort of quite big ones with almost a, you know, TV screen on. So it's very Macmillan branded. And then what we do is we supplement that with the fact it's not 25p every single transaction. We do events where the teams get dressed up. So you're blending the sort of technology with fancy
come on,
dress.
what have you made? You did confess earlier.
My commitment is I've run the marathon twice in the past 2 years. And
dressed as what?
Oh, no, dressed as...
You're not one of the rhinos, are you? No?
Slightly large stomach, middle-aged male, really. That's what I came as.
But brilliant. I mean, brilliant. Marathon twice. I mean, fantastic.
Yeah,
but for people going to Toolstation, it's really clear. That's from what you're saying, what you're doing and why.
Yeah. And what it does for us is, you know,
our purpose is sort of to, build better communities and enrich lives, and, we help, people build schools, universities, hospitals, infrastructure. But it's, our customer base is quite diverse, and, it's builders, actually, and tradesmen, and they've not always had a channel to give.
Yeah.
So it's really opened up a new sort of sector outside, obviously, what we've done with hospitality and retail. And I think the trade sector, they do a huge amount in a very traditional way, and sort of Pennies is a way of doing that in a sort of quite a modern way. And ultimately, it's about breaking it up, and it's little and often, as Alison always says.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Angela, you've got experience in many different organisations, different bodies. So just give us a sense of what you've seen in action.
So I think one of the things that's happening is I've been associated with Pennies, completely bowled over by Alison's positivity, and I think Helen from the BRC referred to it. I've always seen the Pennies concept as a no-brainer, and our challenge, all of us here, because you obviously believe in it or you wouldn't be here, is to kind of get that word out there, because it's such a great way of giving. I suppose what I'm seeing now is it's more relevant than ever. We're in retail and hospitality. They're absolutely about colleagues and consumers in volume. So finding a way for everybody to align around a common purpose at a time when everybody is facing their own types of difficulties, and to feel good and positive about the things that we're able to achieve. So I think, despite all of the terrible challenges we've talked about, whether we're talking about commercial challenges or consumer, the plight of consumers, now is really a great, and that's why we're seeing the growth. The numbers are speaking for themselves.
I mean, here, this is an easy audience. It's not a hard sell here. But where have you been in circumstances where it has been a tough sell? I mean, you're a non-exec director on, several organisations.
Yeah.
Are people open to the idea as a rule?
So I think that introductory conversation is always met with the same reaction, which is we're replacing the little tubs for coins that are on the counters with a digital alternative, which makes so much sense. Everybody wants to give. All organisations have charities that they link to right across retail. The thing that often gets in the way is the fear of the technology, making the actual implementation happen, and creating that alignment, not only from the top, but right through the organisation to make it happen. So I think we have felt resistance, not philosophically, but practically. And when businesses are under pressure commercially, sometimes these are the things that give. One of the things that I think is so powerful, and Alison and the team are so good at, is articulating the commercial benefits of this.
Yeah.
Brand loyalty at a time when that is the holy grail is so important, and if people can relate to you as a brand that does good things, then you're going to get more customers back, and they're going to spend more with you of their hard-earned cash. They're being much more selective. So we can see it in the numbers that businesses that do the right thing do better, and that will only accelerate. And it's just getting that message out there. And this is not a massive and onerous commitment.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of hard work and open-mindedness about how we can make this happen. One of the other things that I have found so impressive with this team is the barriers they've knocked down in terms of the technology evolution. As retail technology has moved, so Pennies' team have moved. There's 17 people running Pennies. They've raised 40 million in 25p at a time. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And they've had to adapt every day of the week to make that happen. So it's just how we get that message out there.
Steve.
Hello.
Or Oliver.
Apologies. Every good event needs a wardrobe malfunction. Luckily,
Are we up and running?
A Janet Jackson one. So.
Now, just tell us a bit about musicMagpie for those who may be not familiar. This is a business you started way back when it was about recycling CDs. We've all got boxes and boxes of those, haven't we?
Hopefully, still there's some left in houses. Yeah.
Well, I have anyway. I can tell you that much.
6 billion CDs, DVDs, games, and books left in British households alone. The name suggests started in CDs and DVDs and books, and that was a very high volume, low average transaction business. But as the business has evolved and we've pivoted. We've become the UK's biggest mobile phone recycler. So about 8 years ago, we launched Consumer Tech. That's now about 70% of our turnover, but actually a much smaller percentage of our transactions, because we're still, perhaps most people in here still don't still have CDs and DVDs. I don't, whisper it quietly. Don't want to have a rat in a moment, but
it's all
but
about
yeah, it is most of our transactions still.
reusing, recycling.
It is, yeah. It's very
not
much
throwing away.
Yeah, I mean, ESG is a key theme today, isn't it? And I guess we are the E, the S and the G in terms of what we're trying to do in terms of environmental sustainability. My observation is that, as you say, it started 17 years ago in my garage in Stockport, and we've always been a recycling business, but nobody really cared until about 5 years ago about the recycling aspect. It was all about getting cash and decluttering. The recycling and the smart for the planet bit was a little bit subsidiary, but now all the stakeholders care about that, as they do what we're talking about to do, the social values. So, you know, our colleagues, our customers, indeed investors, etc., all deeply care about that.
So talk us through how you got to know about Pennies, what drew you to Pennies.
We were trying to remember, weren't we, Alison, where we met? And she's a force of nature, so she gripped me and said, "Steve, you're going to do this." So I said, "Right."
You were on her radar by the sound.
We were, actually, there was a big moment where, I guess, like a lot of people, and we've all had the challenge of, you all have these projects of strategic growth coming out of your ears and a list as long as your arm, and your nasty CFO says, "What's this one worth then?" Because we've developed a rental offer and we've developed kiosks where you can sell quicker. So we've had some really big transformational projects. And then this one arrives, and it's well, hopefully, as Angela said, it'll make you some money in terms of brand loyalty and feel good, and it is about social engagement. But how much more money will it actually put in the till? So Alison actually came up with the bright idea of asking people to volunteer. So we operate a volunteering scheme. Every colleague gets 2 days volunteering. And she said, well, why don't you ask them to volunteer their time to help you do this implementation? And that's what we did. And actually, fortuitously, we had our conference, colleague conference, so the week after. So I did a bit of a Jerry Maguire on stage, whoop, you know, Jerry Springer, get everybody going. Who's with me when let's do this Pennies installation? We played a short video. And my EA went round, and when I said, come on, put your hands up, who wants to help us do something wonderful? And basically, we brought a whole team of people together who did a hackathon. All I did was buy pizza. I know it's a bit cliche, but because I couldn't do anything technical or useful. And I bought the beer at the end of the night when they'd finished. But they did literally 70% of the work in 8 hours, this massive team of people who donated their time. And it was brilliant to break the back of it, and we've launched it 3 months later. And it's been online. I think it's been live for a month now.
So it's about innovative ideas as well,
yeah,
you know, and that captured a young audience, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of our colleagues and who we're talking to online, and you know, to be able to facilitate, I think the biggest challenge we've all got in terms of donating to charities, none of us carry cash anymore. The pandemic finished it off. And, you know, I walk past homeless people. The charity that I'm involved in supports homeless people. And, of course, actually, people who know about homelessness say one of the worst things you can do is give cash. So it is much better to do a donation to somebody who's going to structure the support to them. And I saw in a restaurant, you know, these contactless terminals, similar idea, where you just single bip. I really like those. But then I thought, well, actually, if we can do this, just... And of course, we've got 2 checkouts. We've got people who sell to us, and we've got people who buy from us or now rent from us. So we've launched it on the shop, the traditional people add in, round up when they're buying from us. But very much on our roadmap is to have a deduction of what we're paying people when they've sold to us. So
and practically, because you've done this very recently, was it all right? Getting up and running?
I'll say yes. They didn't seem to moan too much about it. No, but it was. I mean, the team are great. I know, you know, they want us to say this, but they make it as smooth and
easy as possible.
And you know, IT projects take a long time, don't they? They always go over budget. They always take twice as long. This didn't. I think by the nature of how we cracked it and did all the hard work up front, but it's gone very well, and we've launched within 3 or 4 months of starting the project. So
Great.
Yeah, really pleased.
Good to hear. Now, Richard, talk us through your journey with Pennies. Where did you first come across Pennies?
Well, I was at Greene King before at SSP, so I went through some of the journey of, as Nick was explaining, should we or shouldn't we? And we probably procrastinated for about 18 months, because at the time, I think our focus was very much about really trying to improve speed of service. And it was a big agenda point, particularly in our restaurants. We just kind of were concerned this was going to get in the way. And eventually the penny dropped that, excuse the pun, that the best way to really test this was to trial it in a reasonable number of outlets. And we did exactly that. And it was staggering, actually, because the first thing we found was there was not a single bit of evidence from either the team or our customer service data that said there was any impact on service whatsoever. All that came back was positive news about the team had engaged with it, but the amount of money that we raised was quite staggering. And given all the effort that teams put into fundraising, and particularly in the pub business, I mean, it's an industry in itself. The amount of effort that goes in for what gets raised is hugely kind of heroic. But this was kind of really low effort, high return. It was just we were raising kind of significant sums through no effort whatsoever.
And that's why people say it's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Absolutely. So we went from kind of a bit of procrastination for probably 18 months to like, so how quickly can we get this in every unit? You know, it suddenly became a real kind of push. And yeah, I mean, Nick talked about the numbers. They were staggering, and you know, he and his team have kind of kicked it on to the next level. So then I moved to SSP, and I was right. First thing we're going to do, because we also supported Macmillan, is let's get this launched quickly because
you support Macmillan as well, did you say?
We do, yeah.
Goodness me, they're doing rather well, aren't they, from our panelists this evening?
But the frustration was our technology was old, and our terminals didn't support the Pennies technology. So, and then we went into COVID, so we almost had 2 years of kind of investment kind of delays. So we're now in the process of rolling out new terminals and EPOS, and that should be complete by next year. What we did do, though, is we had order at table in our airport locations, which at the time were recovering, you know, really, really quickly. And because of the labour shortage, we used order at table as a way of trying to, you know, manage the transactions. And we got to probably about 50% of our transactions going through that process. So that was the only payment method we could actually turn on Pennies. And again, it's just a great example to the Pennies team on how they kind of supported us on getting that implemented. And we raised probably, and it's really small numbers compared to what everyone else is talking about, £600 or £700 a week just through that in 20 units. So it's tiny numbers, but again, it just makes that difference. With
it's not tiny though, is it really, when you think?
Well, it adds up over time, but relative to what we'll achieve once we've got, you know, 500 units all with the full capacity, I mean, it's going to just put us into a different league altogether. And you know, we're all very excited about that. And you know, that team engagement and seeing how much money is being raised, you know, is a real motivator for the team. I assume,
so when did you become head of SSP UK, Ireland, Netherlands? Pre-COVID?
September. Yeah, I had 6 months. I left the pub world to go to kind of guaranteed foot traffic in travel.
What a great move that was.
It was, yes, it was interesting. But yeah, so I had 6 months, and then we pretty much closed 550 units in the UK and Ireland down to, I think we had 8 units trading.
I mean, it's just been incredibly hard for anyone across hospitality, retail, but the airports have had such a tough time, haven't they? So on so many levels, and you're in the thick of all that.
Yeah, I mean, China's still going through it. We've still got a part of our business there that's still kind of in a form of lockdown. So you know, fortunately, we've had quite a significant bounce back this year. We had to refinance. There was, you know, it was a very serious issue at one point. We refinanced. The good news out of that was refinanced. The business rebounded very quickly, and now we've actually got good capital to kind of invest and grow the business.
But in some ways, whilst all that's going on, to have such a positive element to what you're doing, you know, fundraising in such an easy way, such significant sums, I mean, it makes a difference to everyone who works at SSP, would you argue?
Yeah, it's a huge motivator. We achieved, again, small numbers relative to what you've heard today, but we hit the £1 million milestone with Macmillan literally last month, and that's over 4 years. And we're now, you know, I think with the rollout of Pennies, you know, we think, you know, the acceleration of that fundraising through that mechanism will, you know, take us to 2 million, you know, very quickly, and the whole thing kind of gains momentum. But, you know, that gives us great kind of stories to tell internally and externally, and people feel very proud when they join the business that we're doing good things, and there's kind of evidence to show for that.
Yeah. James, what would you say is the scale of opportunity in your sector for the microdonation movement?
Well, I think it's huge. I think firstly you've got the traditional outlets with PDQ machines, and I think something about 30 to 40 billion that's untapped.
Yeah.
In terms of the amount of revenue going through.
Wow.
And then you layer on top the digital channels as well. So I think the opportunity is huge. I think it's getting that message out there. And, you know, the team at Pennies are fabulous. And, you know, Alison, you know, we talked about, but Dion, who's in the room, you know, the sort of energy and passion. And, you know, it's like anything. You sort of T-shirt size what it means. It's normally the technology. Everyone wants to do it. It's the technology point. And we sort of smashed through it. And as everyone said, start off small. You know, particularly on the sort of PDQ side, you can just do 5 outlets, 5 branches, 5 pubs, and you know, and they've pretty much got every platform technology nailed. So you're not sort of on the frontier. And if you've got your own stack, like a lot of I have my own stack. You know, it's not handmade, but it's, you know, it's sort of cutting edge in 2003. You know,
Yeah.
that they're used to. They're used to that and working through it. So I think don't be scared of it. You know, do an initial conversation. And I always say to Alison and the guys, they're so polite. They sort of tiptoe around these sort of really big businesses. And I think if we can join the two up, I think it's going to be incredibly powerful over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and, you know, practically deploying the new tech then. Would you say in the Pennies journey, it's the beginning bit that's the bit you have to really work through? It's getting it implemented, it's getting it in
and I think it's
play.
getting, you know, everyone that needs to be involved to understand it. Once they're in, we sort of go, wow. But it's that initial, it's a cold start.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a lot of pump priming, which, you know, the team are quite well versed at doing. But I think, you know, my message would be give them opportunity, and you'll see, particularly with ESG, this is just a no-brainer.
What would you say is the biggest benefit for you at Toolstation? If you can say there is.
I mean, ultimately,
one main benefit.
You know, going back to Macmillan, you know, we're creating more value for Macmillan, and that can only be good.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, Angela, what would be your kind of words of wisdom for people who are maybe watching online or in the room who are thinking, okay, I'm considering taking the next step in terms of teaming up with Pennies? What's the process?
So talk to the team, and they will enable it in the most efficient way they possibly can. Their flexibility, their determination, their support.
How time-consuming is it, though? Because quite often those who are making these decisions and having to take these steps are time poor.
Yeah, so I think you've got to ensure that you are aligned through the organisation, so that the leadership of the organisation is signed up to the benefits of this, not only because it's doing the right thing, but it makes sense for the brand and for the business. And I think, you know, a lot of us have used the expression, it's a no-brainer. You know, it speaks to the value of the organisation these days, that you're doing the right thing, as well as loyalty from consumers and colleagues, you know, even more so. So I think creating that alignment, communicating, and then making sure you've got a sponsor, a leader within the organisation who has the objective of landing this. I love what Steve just described as a hackathon, because often the issue is money, isn't it? You know, it's hours and it's money. And if you can, lots of businesses do things that they would call different things, but Make a Difference Day, where colleagues are given an opportunity to give some of their time, instead of to work, to local causes in their community. What a brilliant idea to translate that into landing this project in a really, intense way and getting it done. So alignment through the organisation, find the people who are going to make it happen, make sure everybody's on board, liaise with the team to find the easiest route through, and then be creative about how you create the money to do it, and getting people to do it as a charitable contribution themselves is a really powerful idea.
Steve, we'll let you have the final word, if that's okay. Your thoughts, your sort of, what you would pass on to someone who's considering taking this journey?
I guess, I watched my dad grow up, growing up, he ran a sub-post office and he was head of the community. And I guess what I saw him is instill values in me of, and it's the business's values now, but magpies care, magpies make a difference, and that's been a common theme of today, sort of making a difference. And I think we all have a social responsibility. The gap between have and have-nots has never been wider. And I think in the absence of enough support without going all Ben Elton, without enough central government support or support funding, etc., it's up to us. It's up to the haves to help the have-nots. This makes it as easy as possible. Pennies facilitate that process. They're a brilliant, passionate bunch of people who make it as easy as possible for us all to do something quite easy and okay. It might not have direct P&L benefit tomorrow, but if we can all do our bit, I heard this expression about the environment, that it won't be solved by 1 million perfect environmentalists, it will be solved by 1 billion imperfect ones. If we can all raise £600 a week,
exactly.
It's about 1 in 10 customers who are doing the donations with us at the moment. I think that's probably about standard. We're going to try and get that up. And it's small donations, but we've heard a lot today that is how people want to contribute and make a difference, because they care. Everybody's good at heart. They want to do good for the world.
Yeah.
This facilitates that and makes it as easy as possible for us to do our bit to enable them.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you on the panel for sharing your experience, your thoughts, your passion. Richard Lewis, CEO of SSP, thank you so much. UK, Ireland, Netherlands. James Mackenzie, Managing Director of Toolstation. Angela Luger and Steve Oliver from musicMagpie. Thank you to you all.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Right, I'm going to whisk these chairs away now and sort out the stage for the next part of this evening. I'm sure you will agree, it's so interesting to hear all the different perspectives depending on which area these leaders operate in, whether it be retail, whether it be hospitality, and the challenges that they have faced and so on. So now we're going to celebrate Pennies partners. It's the time in the evening to reveal this year's award winners. So for that, I'm going to hand you back to Alison.
Do you know, I've been talking about the humble penny, but I'm sure I speak on behalf of the whole Pennies team, that we're really humbled by the amazing words you've all shared. Thank you so much. They're a small team, all 17 of you, but you're bloody brilliant, so thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Just don't tell my husband I swore. Kids, if you're in here, shh. Listen, this is the best time of the evening for us. We have a vision, but we can do nothing ourselves. We rely on inspiring people to join us and to take action. And we have so many amazing brands that have done that to date. And tonight's about celebrating on our third awards some of those. So what you'll see behind me is some of the many brands. I think we're heading towards 140-odd brands that are supporting Pennies across retail, hospitality, payment and tech. But actually, talking about momentum, just in the last year, you'll see that part of that, we've had nearly 40 brands now that have joined us in 2022, which just shows the momentum we're building, which we absolutely need to do, that poises us for where we want to go next. But actually, we also like to celebrate people that are with us in the journey. You know, I'm delighted to say that actually in the 12 years we've been live at Pennies, we haven't had one major partner that left us that hadn't been with us from the beginning. And I don't know any other movement that can attract so many people but not lose anyone. So for all of you, thank you very much indeed. So our certificates we'd like to recognise for people that have been with us for over a year, and they are growing fast. We then have our partners have been with us for 3 years. And then I think they're checking I can count 5 years. Add 2 and you get to 7 years. And then we look at those that have been with us for a decade, which is absolutely fantastic. And then there's those that we call the Pennies Pioneers, the ones that took a leap of faith when everyone else was saying, not sure. And the pioneers you're going to see next that have been with us for 12 years are the people that have set the stage for us to take our little humble idea and get us on the track we're going. So a huge thank you to them in particular. So to the awards and the award panel. We have 5 awards tonight. The award panel had a tough job. Roger Alexander is a master at this, at trying to make sure they ooze out the different opinions and get a real great decision. But the panel had a really tough role because there was actually a record number of applicants for each of these awards. So let me start with the first award we have is a Breakthrough Award. That's an award that recognises our technology partners for breaking us into new technologies to be able to open up Pennies further. The honourable mention goes to Verifone, who have really helped us enable contactless across their existing and their new technologies, and have made sure that when they launch their Android solution, we'll be right up in there, front and centre, as the first value-added service. So thank you very much indeed. But the winner of this category, I think, is an organisation that's helped accelerate us into the order and pay it table. They said when they started out, they wanted to make sure they did it so that, back to the issues we heard in the panel, technology isn't the reason why people can't go ahead. That meant when they rolled out with their first retailer, which was the Chesterfield Group, 40 fish and chip shops across the country, actually they rolled out in 4 days. Their technology means we could roll out in hours. And the only reason it takes us a little bit longer is because sometimes charities don't respond as quickly as we want them to. But genuinely, technology is not the issue. Quick serve, congratulations, and thank you very much indeed. Thank you. We're very excited about 2023. We have mega plans, and I think it's fair to say every single colleague in your organisation seems to know what Pennies is about. So in terms of embracing us, brilliant. Thank you so much. So the next award I think we're coming to is the, let's check if I got the right one, is the Outstanding Achievement Award. No, sorry, it's the Step Change. See, I'm ahead of myself. Apologies. The next award is the Step Change Award. And that award is looking at retail partners that are opening up more opportunities for more people to give. And the honourable mention went to Moto, who have actually opened us out in a lot of their on-site brands, including the likes of Pret, Costa, Burger King, and WH Smith's, which, by the way, gives us a lovely door into some of those brands. So they've done a fantastic job. But the winner of this category is an organisation where the judges described them as the best-in-class implementation they had seen through all the pieces that were put forward. They had a team that worked really together. They had quite a complex retail environment. They've got a charity that really aligns to things that their colleagues care about. They had the leadership from the top, who created a video for every colleague to know why it was so important and why the charities were the charities they chose. And when they went live, they're having regularly 200,000 customers donate every single week. Wilco, you've been absolutely amazing. Congratulations. You can come up rather than me come down. Thanks, Zoe. Thank you for everything. Go, Carol. Thank you. I'll speak to you shortly. Well done. Thank you. Thank you. This time, it's the Outstanding Achievement Award. Now, this is one where we've really tried to see the organisations that have accelerated what we do at Pennies. And so I'm delighted, and we heard from them earlier today, the honourable mention was with Toolstation, who rolled out to over 500 stores in less than 5 days after the successful pilot. And for us, is a fantastic case study into that amazing trade business. So we really look forward to that. Now, it came to choosing the winners. Actually, the panel all disagreed. They couldn't get unanimity on one winner, so they decided that we'd have two. So we have joint winners in this category. And the first one is an organisation that went live with Pennies in 2021. They have a charity that really resonates with the brand. They work really hard to do the one thing we know makes the biggest difference, and that's to tell the story of the impact to their customers and to their colleagues. As a result, they've doubled donations since they've been with us. So I'm delighted to announce that the first winner is OC&C, Outdoor and Cycle Concepts. And I think it was your personal mission. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you. Well done. Take care. And the second winner is an organisation who put it firstly into one of their brands. They then have rolled out across all their stores, including contactless. They were the first to take us into in-store in Republic of Ireland. We are already live in Republic of Ireland. They're actually now our biggest fundraiser in Republic of Ireland. They're planning to go on e-commerce very soon. They care massively in their brand about digital inclusion. So the alignment of Pennies to what they do is just magical. And I'm delighted to say the second winner was Currys. Thank you. Well done. Thank you. Brilliant. Now, this is my personal favourite. This award is called the Unsung Hero Award. And it's actually one of the ones that I was so keen to have when we first had our awards 3 years ago. Because it's fine for leaders and organisations who are very well known, but it's the people at the coalface who often are really busy, who nobody asks them to do things. They might have work to do as part of the project, but does it get into their heart? And do they really go above and beyond to help us? And quite frankly, in this category, there were so many people that actually were put forward to be recognised, and I just wish we could recognise more. But the panel picked out 3 people that they felt really deserved this year's Unsung Hero Award. The first one is a lady that champions us brilliantly. She's been helping us with some major brands like Currys and Poundland and rolling out what we're doing. We've raised over £1 million just through our own accounts. She's got a few more coming along. And Fiona from Verifone, you're absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Now, whilst I announce these winners, at the end of this Unsung Hero, we're going to have just a few video clips so that the individuals can talk to us about what it means to them. So that's to come. The second one is an individual who solves technical problems before you know you have them. Now, everybody needs someone like that. And this individual has really helped us fix so many problems where there was a perception of an issue, and typically he'll say, we just haven't communicated it well enough. Or if there is an issue, he'll fix it. He was the individual that helped us backport contactless, import contactless, and make sure we're ready where we're going forward. Martin from Verifone, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Absolutely brilliant. Really brilliant. Take care. Thank you. And the last is an individual that was called Everybody Needs a, which is his name, which I'll communicate in a second. And I think when someone says everybody needs someone like you, there's nothing more to be said for why you have an unsung hero. And this individual corralled the project that then was delivered. And I don't think I've ever heard of a project meeting where there was a spontaneous round of applause. And it was the moment when they realised the potential that was ahead of them that Pennies delivered. Gopal, you led the team at Wilco and you did a brilliant job. Congratulations. Thank you so, so much, Gopal. Honestly, amazing. Really, truly amazing. Thank you. So can we maybe hear from some of those amazing unsung heroes? Thank you all very much.
Hi, I'm Fiona from Verifone, and I am absolutely thrilled to have been awarded the Pennies Unsung Hero Award. It's always an absolute pleasure to work closely with the teams at Pennies alongside my key customers. And of course, Verifone are delighted to have been able to aid the contribution of micro donations, which help charities and local communities chosen by our customers so much. So thank you again.
I'm honoured to be an unsung hero for Pennies. Over the past decade, the work we've done within Verifone has enabled hundreds of thousands of pounds to be donated to charity. And that's something I'm very proud to have been a part of, and it's something I'm incredibly passionate about being part of as well. Every time when I'm out shopping, I see that prompt pop up to say, would you like to donate to charity via Pennies? It's a no-brainer. It's a few pennies added onto the transaction, but to those charities, when multiplied up, is hundreds of thousands of pounds. And that makes such a difference to them. And it's why I donate to it and why I believe in what is being achieved as part of this micro-donation movement. So thank you.
Hi everyone, I am super excited to receive Pennies Unsung Hero Award. It's an amazing experience to implement Pennies solution in Wilco stores, through which we are able to support Wilco's charity partners, namely Alzheimer's Society, Save the Children, and Teenage Cancer Trust in a better way. I'm fortunate to be instrumental in this journey, and I'm very happy to receive this award. Once again, thank you, Pennies.
Once again, thank you very much indeed to all of you. So our last award that the panel really encouraged us to do was to recognise a few special individuals. So the first award is a joint award to a technology company and a retail brand. This technology company has been with Pennies in part of our early journey and has seen us through various different technical implementations and has unlocked over 9 million consumer donations. They then stepped alongside this brand who were really keen to deploy Penny. They're a FTSE 100 retailer. They've got a number of brand fascias. They've had a phenomenal rollout and an amazing response from their customers. So I'm delighted to say that the Special Recognition Award goes to Worldline and JD Group. Dan, thank you so much for everything. Honestly, you've been unbelievable. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. And then there's finally two individuals that are going to be recognised. The first one is an individual who, you know, he's just one of those people that just really gets the world. He works diligently hard for his clients. I know at any time I'm trying to get hold of him, it's because he's on the phone to one of his clients, solving a problem, trying to help them, trying to make sure that they do the very best thing for their clients. And when it comes to Pennies, you can kind of feel, oh, you just won't have time. But you know, he always makes time. He always has, and certainly today, and I hope now going forward, no, he always has, and I'm sure he always will. And do you know what? He's got the most infectious smile ever. Simon Anderson from FIS, thank you so much for your help. See the smile? It's infectious, isn't it? Thank you. Seriously, thank you. Thank you. Excellent. This year we did a campaign, Lidl like to do giving and campaign, and we did our first campaign with Lidl, and the next one's coming up soon, and it was just fantastic to have such a major supermarket with all the help from Simon and the team. So the final Special Recognition Award goes to a lady whose birthday it is today. So I'll forgive her because she's actually on a special holiday and not able to be with us this evening. And I was, having a holiday or coming here. I'll forgive her. No, this individual has been a super, super champion for Pennies. She joined the Pennies movement very early on. She's one of those people that I get a text, or actually it's all these little voice messages I keep getting. And she's another Scottish-speaking person, so it's great because I can understand her because she speaks really quick, and I'm like, done that, got that, on it. But she's always oozing with ideas, as well as what they do with us for Pennies. Every year they host this infamous Burns Supper, where we bring together some of the major leaders and discuss the topics of the day, as well as what we can do with Pennies. So Gillian McLean from Drake & Morgan is an absolute superstar, and she's going to say a few words for us. And then I think, David, are you coming? No? Excellent. Would you like to come and collect the word on her behalf? Thank you.
Hi guys, I hope you're all having a very fun evening at the bank. On behalf of Drake & Morgan, thank you so much for the recognition of this award. We've been a partner of Pennies for 10 years, and even though we're still quite a small business, our customers have managed to donate, and our teams have been responsible for raising donations of over £225,000, with clearly lots more to do in the future, which all of those funds have gone to our wonderful partner charity, which is Maggie's. Really the person that makes everything happen at Drake & Morgan, as well as the teams, really is David Brethren, who's there with you tonight. So I hope you have a lovely, fun evening at the bank, and look forward to welcoming you all to Drake & Morgan over the coming months. Take care.
And a happy birthday from all of us. So that's the end of the award ceremony tonight, and we just have a few more elements to share with you before we can let those at home go away and have a lovely drink of tea, coffee, maybe wine, whatever you'd like, and for those of us here to enjoy the hospitality. I guess I'd come back with, why are we here? We're here because there are so many people in society that need the support of so many charities, and we need to make it easy and affordable for us all to give. But we must never forget the importance this means to charities. So I'd like you to just listen to 3 charities that are talking about the impact that Pennies donations has meant to them and the people that they look after.
Firstly, thank you for having us today, and thank you for all of the support that we received through Pennies and your merchants and their customers. It's been absolutely incredible. The Ukraine humanitarian appeal, which obviously launched 1 week after the beginning of the conflict in March of this year, was truly a once-in-a-generation moment. And our appeal has been very focused on the humanitarian impact of the conflict. And it's that the merchants and their customers have been able to get behind through the Pennies platform that's been really, really powerful, and something that the DEC on its own would not be able to do. So it's only because of the platform, because of the merchants and their willingness to switch over those donations to the Ukraine humanitarian appeal that the impact has been what it has. What that's allowed us to do is broadly to focus on 2 areas. So one is the impact of those who've been displaced within Ukraine itself, those who haven't left the country, but those who have been often displaced from their homes, had to move to different areas, as you can imagine, or indeed those who are unable to move. So cash, food, shelter, as you can imagine, these are all the sorts of things that money has gone on. And the other group it's really helped, the broad group that it's really helped us to and enabled us to reach, is those Ukrainians who unfortunately have now become refugees, as in they've had to cross borders into surrounding countries, places like Moldova, places like Poland, etc., the surrounding countries around the country, and so around Ukraine itself. And so again, the donations leveraged through Pennies, through the merchants, through customers' generous support, has gone to supporting refugees when they've crossed those borders as well. Okay, so to give you an example of the kinds of impact that even quite small amounts that customers might have generated through the Pennies platform might have been. So just £30 could provide essential hygiene supplies for up to 3 people for 1 month. So medical supplies, medical support, hygiene supplies for those who have fled across borders, etc. 3 people for an entire month could be covered by just £30. £50 could provide blankets for 4 families, or £100 could provide emergency food for 2 families for an entire month. How has Pennies helped us to make a difference in the scale and reach digitally of this campaign? So it really has. So despite being a huge campaign with lots of things going on, there's only so many things that the DEC has the technology and platforms to be able to leverage. Your amazing, generous merchants, and obviously the customers themselves who are their customers. Leveraging this platform really helps us to grow that scale in new and interesting ways, and things that the DEC couldn't deliver on its own. And over £360,000 has been raised through for the Ukraine humanitarian appeal through the Pennies platform. That is a phenomenal amount of money from small roundups and donations, pennies that are being given to the appeal, adding up to 360,000.
So Macmillan Cancer Support have been working with Pennies since 2010. We've been a huge advocate of Pennies as a mechanic. In that time, we've managed to raise £3.4 million, which is an absolutely phenomenal amount of money. We've worked with many of our corporate partners, including household names such as Greene, Toolstation, Travelodge, for example. In terms of what a donation might mean, so for every £32 raised in a Greene pub, for example, that could fund a Macmillan nurse for an hour, which is just incredible. We have some really extreme challenges at the moment for people living with cancer since the pandemic. For Macmillan Cancer Support, one of our biggest focuses at the moment is the cost of living and the challenges that people affected by cancer are facing. 1 in 4 people with cancer feel like they just can't afford life at the moment. And that's why something like Pennies is such a great solution in terms of an ask, because it's asking people to donate the smallest amounts of change, and that change really can make a big difference.
Thanks to Toolstation and their generous customers for using Pennies to raise even more vital income for Macmillan. Through the Pennies donations we receive every single month, we're able to provide support to people living with cancer when they need us most. For example, the Pennies monthly donations we receive could help run our online community forum for 1 month. And in this time, 48,394 people affected by cancer in the UK can give emotional and practical support to each other on anything to do with cancer, from treatments to coping with everyday life to the death of a loved one.
Incredible donations through Pennies means that we can continue investing in groundbreaking research to support the millions of people living with heart and circulatory diseases in the UK. A month of Travelodge customer donations through Pennies could fund a heart attack research project for around 6 weeks, including research staff and funds for the equipment and laboratory materials needed for the project. As we move to being a more cashless society, Pennies is providing a simple and affordable donation mechanism for Travelodge customers to donate to the British Heart Foundation with an optional 50p donation at checkout. You've opened up an incredible opportunity for us to reach Travelodge customers and raise vital funds for those living with heart and circulatory diseases in the UK. On behalf of all the team at the British Heart Foundation, I want to say a huge thank you for your incredible support.
It's always humbling to remind ourselves how so many people need the help, and these charities need to be there for them. So I guess, if you think the Pennies team is passionate about American donations before tonight, you ain't seen nothing yet, because we haven't scratched the surface of the potential opportunity. I'd just like to round off with a couple of thank yous and then just a thought. I'd like to thank Sally so much again for being our amazing host. There's a reason you're back for a 3rd year in a row. It's all by popular demand. You're fantastic. Thank you very much. And then I'd like to just say my own thank you to Andy in particular from the Pennies team, Andy Hull, and the whole of the Pennies team. You know, none of us have a job title called an event. We all have other things to do, and we all muck in, as we always do, to whatever needs to be done. We turn a hand. But Andy, thank you for leading from the front for an amazing evening. Well done. So a few closing thoughts. We certainly have a charity sector that's in need. We have a very generous UK population that wants to make it easy to give little and often. And I hope from tonight, and those of you at home will have seen, that Pennies is now really proven, and it's our time right now to take it to scale. So when I look at what we are trying to do, I can do nothing but inspire you, to ask you, to invite you, because Pennies is only as good as every single individual that decides they want to step in. And I really meant what I said. We're all hugely humbled by the amazing and thoughtful feedback tonight. And when we look forward to 2023, we have 5 things on our horizon. 1, for our existing partners, we believe there's even more we can do to drive more value for you as a brand, to make your colleagues feel even more engaged, and to therefore unlock even more donations. We have got the biggest pipeline we've ever had in terms of merchants actively in discussion. But that's no good unless we get them live and open those outlets for people to donate. So that's really important to us. And unlocking even more technology and getting it to quick serve 4 hours, that's the bar. We're off and running. But no, of course, some of it's going to be harder than that. But the whole goal is we've got to keep making it easy. We've got to embrace what Jana was saying earlier. Open banking, cryptocurrencies, what's coming down the line. You know, thank you, Angela. Our whole focus has to be to keep up to date with where we are. Otherwise, we're not relevant for merchants. The 4th, which I'm super excited about, and I really hope 2023 can be the year, is the whole small and medium enterprises are the backbone of the UK economy. And yet, right now, Pennies can only support large and medium-sized organisations. And we are in active discussion with a number of partners to crack the opportunity to let people living locally, shopping locally, giving locally. And we think that would be a really special breakthrough and something we're determined to crack in 2023. And then the last thing I have to say, but I'm making no promises, is we have had a number of these major brands we're delighted to come on board now, ask what it would take for us to support them in other jurisdictions. Now, we're not ready to go off international. Pennies doesn't want to overtake the world. We just want to be a little organisation that unlocks the growth of microdonations. But we are going to start to have those conversations to work out how the partners in the UK can then take Pennies into the other jurisdictions they're operating in. So watch this space, but we've got a long road to go, and most of our focus is on the UK. So when I take a step back to last year, those of you that were with us, we said we'd try and do 100 million consumer donations in 3 years. That's the same as we did in the first 10. We're 1 year in, and we're on track, but we've got so much more to do. So I leave you with 3 thoughts. If there's anything about today that's inspired you, I ask you to help us in 3 ways. 1, this little humble penny, I hope will become a big part of your life. Please wear the badge and get engaged in conversations. Because friends, families, strangers, I can tell you, and I see Don there, Don said it's the biggest conversation starter he has, and that's what we want to do. We want to get the word out. And then when we talk physically, bring us onto the social channels. Please get behind us, talk about us, celebrate the success, because we definitely need to get the word out there. And for me, another thank you. Every single one of these Pennies badges, and thank you, Chris has made me a lovely little silver necklace, is actually made by our photographer our evening. He's also our technical implementation manager, and he makes every single Pennies badge. Chris, thank you. So start a conversation. Secondly, just think of one thing you could do to help. Between the people in this room and all of you at home, that would be 300 actions that could help us take a step forward. If you're thinking about it, find a sponsor. If you're not thinking about it, speak to someone that's doing it. If you've got an idea, share it. I have to believe the amazing people in this room could all come up with one thing that would make them feel really part of helping us grow this movement. And the last thing I'd like you to do is really difficult. Every time you see a penny going forward, I ask you to just pause and to smile. Because the world is quite challenging out here. We spend so long giving ourselves so much trouble and not enough time just making ourselves feel a little bit better. And when you see those pennies, the reason I'd like you to smile is because, one, if you take up the challenge I've asked, you are part of creating a legacy of feel-good giving that's worth £1 billion every year for the UK charity sector. And secondly, because do you know what? You'll have a much better day. And it all starts with this humble penny. So don't ever let anyone tell you these are undervalued or underestimated. These are what's going to make the biggest difference to make us happy, to make charities really successful. And I wish you all the best in helping us in our journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alison. Well, that certainly is a call to action, isn't it? Which I guess we expect from Alison, don't we? We've come to know her at such a critical time for everyone, with households, businesses really facing tough times. But as Alison said very, very clearly tonight, every penny counts. And as many of you have said tonight as well, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Alison said some thank yous. I've got some thank yous as well, but I think the person we need to thank is Alison. Don't you agree? An inspirational leader and a very small but incredibly powerful team. So well done, Alison. Thank you for your commitment, your energy and determination to make all of this happen. And also thank you again to our contributors tonight and those who spoke this evening. Thank you so much for sharing your stories and your experiences. It was much appreciated. And also we must thank those who are in partnership with us this evening who you may not have been aware of. So Blue Train Marketing, who filmed a lot of these wonderful videos we've been watching. Avio Reply, the team who make it all happen technically, who've done a wonderful job once again this evening. Retail Gazette, the media partner, and of course, we must thank Rothschilds for the use of this stunning location and building. We do appreciate that very much indeed. Thank you so much. And again, we want to thank Worldpay from FIS. Now, at the beginning of this evening, I did say that I believe that we would be challenged, we would be encouraged, and we'd be inspired and envisioned. And I'm sure you will agree, yes, we have been this evening. So I'd like to thank you all here in the audience for being so attentive and for sparing your time this evening and for getting here as well, which was a challenge in itself. Thank you too at home for staying with us throughout. It's been really good to have your company as well. And thank you for being involved online. So for all of you watching online, we wish you a very good evening. Thank you.